Hi everyone, welcome to Omar's Rickshaw Ride. Today's episode is brought to you by Fish Tacos. We got some banging fish tacos here at our neighborhood taqueria. I really wish y'all could have some of these fish tacos. They're pretty awesome. So thank you all for joining us. As we said before, follow us on Twitter at Omar's Rickshaw. We have a Discord. We would love to hang out and chat with you, talk about Kenobi, talk about everything Marvel. I'm watching The Boys. I'm watching Stranger Things. So holler at a scholar. So we are really excited. The first episode of Miss Marvel just dropped and we're here to chat about it.
Yeah, super excited.
So first off, to start with the hype, Rotten Tomatoes reviews before the episode even came out were at 95%, 96%. I think now they're at 97%. And that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with those reviews. The show is pretty awesome and we're super hyped to talk about it. There are so many things that are so right about this. It's fun, it's vibrant, it's all the good things.
Right. The early reviewers had a chance to check out the first two episodes, so they have already watched about a third of the show. Also, we wanted to mention the review bombing that was happening over on IMDb. Really unfortunate. Because of the review bombing, Miss Marvel debuted as, I think, the worst or second worst of any of the Marvel MCU that's come out.
Yeah, that is so sad.
Yeah.
It just is such a waste and an evil use of this kind of collective power.
I briefly skimmed an article talking about it. I read a few of the comments, but I really couldn't understand why people were hating on the show. I think when there's some shows that are maybe headlined by women or people of color, these shows often get review bombed. We talked about Kenobi and Moses Ingram getting all this hate. So maybe that's part of why it was getting review bombed on IMDb. Maybe people are just haters and they just didn't like the show.
Yeah, so I think that maybe it's a little bit of both, but I definitely do think that generally people can be haters. I wouldn't go and review bomb a show like this that, you know, is close to so many people's hearts and so much creativity and work has gone into it. But I can tell you that I do write negative reviews for restaurants that, you know.
She does that. She does.
And there is good reason for it, but from somebody else's perspective, maybe I'm just being a hater. I do also think that maybe this is a little bit beyond what even people who are comfortable with diversity are comfortable with, because there's so many different types of bias. And I feel that Islamophobia and xenophobia is very strong. The show itself is very Pakistani. In the visual aspect, the linguistic aspect. So maybe people are just like, fuck this, we don't like it.
Right.
And maybe people are just being assholes and using their collective power to bring somebody down.
Well, let's dig in. So to set the scene, we watched it with our daughter. She was kind of tired when we watched the show last night. We just rewatched it a little earlier in the afternoon with her. And this time she was a little more engaged and a little more like attuned to what was going on. She has her own theories, and that was really exciting to hear today. The first thing that jumped out to me was the title, Generation Y, which is the name of the first comic book in the series by G. Willow Wilson. So that was really cool. That was the title of this episode. I was stoked about that.
Yeah. They paid homage to many things in the comic, including G. Willow Wilson, a few times, actually, scattered through the episode. I also really liked that she has the same necklace as Miss Marvel in the comic has a bracelet with her name, as she says in Arabic, which she could have also said Urdu, but I guess, you know, they decided Arabic because it is also Arabic.
Yeah, so the start of the episode, it started with the whole Marvel thing they do with spelling out their name with all the different scenes. They added some newer scenes from the most recent Marvel stuff that's come out, Moon Knight and Doctor Strange. Also, I really love the opening with the music.
Oh, yeah.
And how she's putting together her own little YouTube video, Sloth Baby Productions, which I looked it up. There is a YouTube account called Sloth Baby Productions, and they've started uploading videos about a day ago. Not too sure if it's official or not. I didn't have too much time to delve into it and check out all the videos. It includes the video that was like that 30-second video that Kamala was producing herself. It was really cute.
Yeah, I think it's really cute. I loved the intro music. Yeah, it reminds me of a couple of other really cool, similar vibe movies.
So yeah, the Big Me, Little Me podcast. I couldn't find it on Spotify, so it's not real. But I would love to hear it. I'd love to hear what other Marvel fake podcasts are out there. So we get introduced to her family fairly quickly. And the one thing as I was sitting with earlier today was the blip and how we don't know, like, did her anyone in her family, like whether it's herself or her brother, either for parents, did they go through the blip? It wasn't really addressed. Are there any of her high school peers that, went through? We don't really know.
Yeah.
And if half of the population went through this, there'd be a lot of people. And so, I don't know, it wasn't really mentioned at all in the show. But I was curious. Curious.
Maybe it will come up. Nothing in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think just the timeline of the blip versus the comics.
Yeah.
I don't know about that very well.
We touched on a little bit of the music, like as the show opened, but the music was pretty awesome throughout the whole show. Sweatshop Boys, as we talked about on our last episode, we definitely heard them as she's walking into her high school. I was also really excited to hear the Linda Lindas. I don't know if y'all have heard of the Linda Lindas, but check them out. They became kind of viral about a year and a half ago during the pandemic. I love them.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Yes.
They're awesome.
Yes.
There was other music too. The music, I don't know what it is when that comes on when she turns the car on, but I really enjoyed that. I can imagine that happening to me or one of my siblings. They were going for a driver's test and some desi Bhangra music comes on.
Right.
So that was fun. And then Coco Corina, which is sort of like an inside thing for people whose parents or grandparents grew up in like the 50s, 60s. Coco Corina, it was Pakistan's first pop song. I think it was originally sung by somebody else for a movie. Then it was popularized by this singer named Alamgir, who was an Elvis-esque singer, musician, and lots of popular songs that people love. This is very nostalgic.
This was the song that was playing when her and her mom were walking around shopping.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that scene.
Yeah.
It reminded me of Pioneer Avenue or Pioneer Boulevard down south.
Yeah.
In LA County.
Yeah, and I just love how they take these elements that are just so close to our experiences, like Burfi. She's stuffing her face with Burfi. Which Pakistani kid, whether it's Pakistani American or Pakistani, has not had that experience? You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's a very on point in making a connection to the culture.
Yeah.
Or bangles and jewelry, like trying it on in the bazaar.
Right. I mentioned that vibe so similar to Pioneer Boulevard down in LA County, which is like the little India, like where I grew up. But also reminded me of when we were in Jackson Heights. We were shopping around for something.
Wedding?
Yeah, for our wedding in Jackson Heights. Yeah. And we even stopped at a chicken and rice spot, just like she stopped at a halal cart.
Yeah. And I love the shout out to the halal guys and like the competition between the carts.
And dude even mentioned the gentrification.
Yeah.
Right, with the Armani suits coming in by and everything.
Yeah. And I loved that his cart had these little like tassels, like rickshaws in Pakistan. Rickshaws are decorated like that. It was super cool. What else?
I love her mom. Especially, early on in the show, I love how funny her mom is. She has this really dry sense of humor. When they were arguing with the DMV guy. Just really loved how she was. And then also in that shop, the way she changed her attitude about that kurta that Kamala was trying on.
I like her too. She reminds me of the way she talks, reminds me of how my popo and my mom talk. It's a little like sing-songy way of talking. I guess I talk like that too. But I like her. There seems to be so much more to her than
she laid out some hints early on when she says I come from a long line of daydreamers and fantasizers.
My mom was one.
Yes.
Yes. So definitely like Nani is a presence in the show. She's been referred to as, troublemaker, very subtly, but definitely as something happened here that was unpleasant.
And she was real quick with packing up that food for Bruno.
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's something more going on. Oh, so this kind of reminded me of Turning Red.
How so?
Because the mother seems like the character, the mother in that, who has traded something mystical and special for a stable life.
Sure.
So definitely like reminds me of that. And I can see that there is a grief. I can see that there is a fear for Kamala. And there's also something else that is being kept from us just now. Yeah.
You're right. That's a good connection too with
Yeah.
Turning Red. I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah. I also just really like how just wonderfully Pakistani she is, where, she says things like when, she calls Bruno beta. Right? That's what our parents do. And she insists, like he says, no, thank you. She's like, oh, okay, I'll pack the food for you.
Yeah.
So that's one, but also the type of things she says that I can hear my mother saying, like, have you lost your ears? You know what I mean? So it's that kind of thing, yeah.
How daisy is their house? The flower wallpaper, the floral prints really brought back memories for me growing up.
Yeah, their house really reminds me of our Coventry house because it's growing up in Pakistan. We never lived in these types of buildings. We never had wallpaper. That's how our homes are here, our parents' homes.
Well, yours. Yours has a bit more of the cozy vibe that their house was
Yeah.
emanating.
Yeah, because like we never took off and changed the wallpaper. You know what I mean? Like we just took what they gave us along with the mortgage. Their house is really cute. I really love the very tasteful calligraphy that they have on the mantle where she's standing and talking about Avengercon.
Let's move on to the high school, Cole Academic High School. And the first thing I noticed as she was walking in is seeing G. Willow Wilson's name on, I guess, the founders. And I saw her name. And then I found out later like the other names were also some of the writers or artists that had worked on the comic strip.
Yeah.
Pretty cool shout out.
Yeah.
Also the guidance counselor,
Mr. Wilson.
G. Wilson.
Yeah.
Or GWW.
Yeah.
Also
GWW,
a shout out to G. Willow Wilson, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Subtle.
Yeah.
It's cute. Yeah.
Yeah, I found the counselor to be kind of dorky, but also keeping it real in his own way. Hard to make sense out of him too much.
I understand because I've been a middle school, high school educator, like really trying to be down, but also having to dish out this dose of reality to the kid. I love that he's into cats. He has the hang in there poster in his office. He has the cat cup. He has a cat thing on his computer. I don't know if it's a wallpaper. He's watching a video.
So you pointed out the cats in his office. And then I noticed that her bedroom has a lot of cats on the wall.
Yeah. I wonder what this is. I wonder if it's a shout out.
Black Panther came to my mind.
Perhaps.
Panther's a cat. It's a big cat.
Yeah, but we'll see. And also, it could just be that it's foreshadowing something.
The way she jumped out her window wasn't very cat-like.
No, that's definitely like Black Widow, dramatic pose.
No, I'm talking about the branch breaking.
Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh. Yeah.
Which, for me, at least, was one of the tackier parts of the episode. It's just how that branch looked and how it fell.
Yeah.
I thought Marvel could have done a better job with that part. All these other branches have leaves and twigs attached to them, and here's just this really clean branch with nothing attached to it. Just that seems so fake. I think they could have done a better job. That's just a minor gripe. Next up, what should we talk about?
I want to talk about the subtitles.
Right.
And the Urdu phrases that were used. I loved the way that's done because it's so natural. It doesn't seem scripted or overly scripted. I think that it's intentional, how natural the Urdu phrases are and the way people use them. And also, I see some intentionality in the way that Bruno knows Urdu or a few Urdu phrases. And that's relatable. Like, my friends know a few Urdu phrases, right? But two things I loved a lot. One, the mom just like reverting to Urdu when she's angry and she cusses out the DMV person. The other thing that I loved was how Bruno said Pakistan.
Right.
Because he didn't say Pakistan.
No. He said Pakistan.
He said Pakistan.
Yeah. And
I was just like, wow, this is awesome.
Mm-hmm. And he programmed Zuzu.
Yeah, I was really wondering Zuzu. Like, what's Zuzu? Is that a reference? Like, why is it named Zuzu? You know what I mean?
No clue.
Yeah.
No clue. Maybe some nerds out there know, but I don't.
Yeah. I want to take a second to talk about the camera work and some of the shots.
Yeah.
One of the things that I really liked was their text message conversation when she said no.
That was awesome.
And how it, you can see the text in the stars of her nightlight.
And the emojis and like the neon lights of the stores.
Yeah, and the emoji or the response appears on the street as he's walking. I really love this street imaging that they're doing. It reminds me of how like street murals were painted during the Black Lives Matter movement. And the neon lights and just the camera kind of takes you where it needs to take you, but it also goes kind of with the conversation. It's a really nice flow. Mm-hmm. It's very creative. I love that. Yeah,
it's really spoke to the vibrancy of urban life.
Yeah.
Both with the chat messages showing up and just even as she was narrating or talking about different options for her costume as they were riding their bikes home and how different images of Captain Marvel, like Zombie Marvel, were showing up on the walls. And the end credit scene it really spoke to like the vibrancy of urban life.
Yeah.
And also reminded me as we're talking now of one of our kids' books called Maybe Something Beautiful, which I think is based off something real from, I think, San Diego. And the graffiti murals that were part of, I think, Chicano Park, a neighborhood down there in San Diego. Really cool. I thought the directors did a great job with that.
I think it was wonderful. Oh, for a second, can we go back to the Urdu? Mm-hmm. Because I think it's really important for us to talk about subtitles. The asshole inside myself is very tickled and like happy that the Goras cannot understand what people are saying because there are no subtitles for the Urdu phrases that they're using. They're transliterated as the Urdu phrases. And it reminds me of Sacred Games, the novel. And there may be a glossary in it, I'm not sure, but he never really made the effort to cater to somebody who doesn't understand Hindi.
The author of
Sacred, Vikram Chandra.
Yeah.
Some novels do that. They have a word in a different language and then they kind of translate it or contextualize it. But he never did that. And this seems similar. I'm curious to know if that's intentional or if it's just that they couldn't translate it, but they translate everything. So part of me wants this to be intentional.
Right.
Which is not to say that people should be excluded, but that it's not meant for
They say Bismillah over many times.
Many times. And it's not translated.
Right.
Kamina Kahinka is not translated. Beta is not translated, Even when Bruno says Batti Kholo, that's not translated. So intellectually, I understand that it shuts people out, but part of me enjoys that. What do you think? What are your thoughts on it?
My thoughts are, and I speak Urdu like a gringo, and I mean, I could understand everything that was being said. A part of me wishes for more accessibility and inclusivity because it's not just Daisies that are watching Miss Marvel. It's everybody, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
There might be a lot of East Asians watching Miss Marvel. There might be,
all types of Americans and all types of people around the world are watching it.
So I do wish for more, I guess, inclusivity. Maybe maybe when we're watching Disney Plus and we have the subtitles on, like maybe there's a different setting that actually translates that stuff. That I don't know, but it's also okay for people to just know what certain phrases are because these are phrases used by Pakistanis and probably lots of Indians. Beta. Right?
Yeah.
Like maybe that's just a term people can familiarize themselves with and it's nothing in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's the difference between you and me. Like I'm just, I'm pleased with that. Like, all y'all can understand? Good.
Right.
But I do understand inclusivity and accessibility.
Right.
But I also don't think that everything has to be catered to English-speaking people.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I think we can hold both of these things.
Yes.
Totally. Can we talk about Bruno?
No. Yes. I love Bruno.
Yeah, I love the actor. And I think, I don't know his name, but it's not on my head right now. But I think he does a really good job.
Yeah, I mean, I love Bruno from the comics. And I think he brings Bruno to life so well. We definitely see a little bit more context around him and who he is and his life and why he connects with Kamala the way he does. So hopefully we'll see that. He's a child of immigrants and his family are Italian and they're very Italian. And they came to the country also poor. And he relates to Kamala on a lot of those fronts. So I hope that they contextualize him. But I do like him in the actor, the job he does. How sweet he is, because Bruno is a sweet boy. What did you like about him?
I like that he seems very much like a 16-year-old. A lot of times, like when high school students or adolescents are portrayed, they're usually portrayed by like older actors. Like a 15, 16-year-old may be portrayed by like a 18, 19-year-old. And he actually looked the part.
Yeah, he looks the part. I mean, I think both of them are like 18, 19. But both of them look like high school juniors, right? Like very typical how kids are. I love Kamala's hair the whole time through. I can see somebody who's 5.5 now being older and like having that hair. Like she just doesn't care.
So it seems like there's a lot of his context that's provided in the comics. I'm kind of far removed from reading the comics. You have reread them more recently. I hope the show also provides some of this context, because otherwise it doesn't make sense. He seems really like obsessed with Kamala and her family, and has taught himself some Urdu, and even how to say Pakistan. And, he also spent more time like worried about her outfit than about his own, which seemed just kind of put together with a lab coat.
Yeah.
And that's interesting.
I hope that there is more context there. Speaking of the boy characters, Amir, my imagination of Amir, my experience of Amir from the comic books is that he's not as nice, right? Like he may be nice a little bit on the inside, but he has a very rough exterior, kind of grouchy exterior, judgmental of all of his family. In the show, he seems really kind and like down with Kamala. Or maybe, I just didn't read it that way. But yeah, in the comics too, there are glimpses of that, like his relationship with Bruno and then his relationship with Kamala. And then other things come out about their family and their origin. And then he's getting married.
But doesn't have a driver's license?
Yeah, but he's getting married but doesn't have a driver's license. But that's not, like, no. we know people who have been married without a driver's license.
Yeah.
So
one of my best friends. Yeah. He has a license now.
Yeah. Of course, There's only so much that somebody else will drive you. In the comics, he's more into his religious thing and less put together. Here, he seems a little bit more put together.
So can we talk about Avengercon? Should we go there?
We should go there.
We should. Yeah,
we should go there. I mean, it was not my favorite part. Avengercon was fine. I liked the montage of them taking pictures, that, the spontaneous hour that they were spending. But everything that happened was kind of, like, I wasn't, like, the biggest fan of it.
Rushed? Did it feel rushed?
It felt rushed. The effects were not as great. When Kamala was exposed to the Terrigen mist, there wasn't any of this, like... She's not shooting something out of her hand.
In the comics.
In the comics. And here she's shooting. Like, what is happening is that she's shape-shifting. I understand that that's really probably hard to do. And I miss that. Like, she turns into Captain Marvel. She turns into her mom. She turns into, like, all these things and all these people. And I think that that's saying something about who she is and what she has internalized. And I missed that. But even if it was replaced by something else, I really wish that it wasn't her shooting something out of her hands.
Right.
The Ant-Man head rolling around, destruction, and then, the hammer coming and Zoe Zimmer being like pinned to the wall with a hammer, but nothing happening to her. It's just kind of like silly.
Tacky?
Yeah, it's
Almost tacky. At least for me, with that big head rolling around.
Yeah, it's not stopping. It's just rolling.
Right. What's it made out of? Like, how?
Yeah.
And then same with the hammer.
Yeah. I was just like, it's too much,
Right.
It could have been subtler where something's falling on her, like Kamala embiggens or stretches and grabs that thing. But this was a bit much. Like, this is the only part of the show that I wasn't the biggest fan of.
Sure.
Yeah. And I felt that visually it was really removed from the rest of the style of the show. It's very kind of tacky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The part I did like about it is when she first puts on the bracelet.
Yeah.
And the second time as we were watching, just pausing and just seeing what happens, like as soon as it's on and her skin starts to change around her arm. Seeing her eyes change.
Yeah.
She falls into this dimension that's purple. There's all these eyes. You see eyes and heads and bodies there, but there's very little detail. And it's really brief that she falls in. And I paused it and was looking around, but it was still kind of hard to make out much of anything. I'm really curious about what that dimension is that she fell through and then fell out of.
Quickly.
Yeah. I think there's going to be a lot of maybe answers for us there.
Right.
So is she inhuman or no? What do you think?
It's definitely genetic what she has, whatever it is, because her mom says something like that. She has my genes.
Right.
She straight out just says that. So it's definitely genetic.
Beyond just object.
Beyond the object.
Just the bracelet.
Yeah.
Beyond that.
Yeah. I mean, she says it again and again. To me, that implies that it's something that goes in the family.
And her mom identified that bracelet immediately.
Yeah.
It was
As
in her
junk.
eyes. Yeah.
Yeah, you can see the fear on her face. She may still be inhuman. I would be very surprised if they change that because, I mean, how would they explain? How would they explain her connection to other Inhumans in the MCU? You know what I mean? Like, how would they do that if she's not inhuman? That's one thing. The other thing that I was thinking about in terms of whether she's inhuman or is that jinns were mentioned twice.
A couple times they mentioned jinns.
Yeah. I find that very interesting.
Curious how they're going to tie in this Islamic mysticism and these beliefs about spirits into the MCU.
Yeah. I was like dreaming about it last night that, maybe the Kree are jinn. Maybe that's who jinn are, right? In the MCU. I'm not saying in Islamic mysticism because who knows whether the Kree are real or not. Or whether jinn are real or not. Mm-hmm. But it would be very interesting if she's like part jinn.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that would also explain how Inhumans from like other cultures may think of their inhumanness in different ways, sort of like molded into their own origin stories or into their own mysticism. That would be super cool because if they can do it with this, then they can do it with other traditions as well.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. So, of course, her mother catches her at the end of the night, gives her a bit of a lecture, a bit of a stern talking to, gives her, I guess, choices between what does she want to be.
Yeah, like asks a question, and she says, think about it. Because she has apparently thought about it and she has made a choice for herself. Yeah, I can't disconnect this from Turning Red because it just seems like so much of a similar feeling that I could have made the mistake that you are about to make, but I chose a different path. And that's the better path that I want you to choose also. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but there's something up with her. I mean, she's afraid, but also she's mysterious in this very, Pakistani Ammi kind of way.
Quite the, I guess, very value driven. Like, do you want to be a good girl?
Yeah. Yeah. Also, I'm really happy that they suddenly tied this like societal pressure or log kya kahenge into this, because I think that's a big part of it. Log kya kahenge. That is comically shown where she barks at Shaukat, the shopkeeper, saying she's not too short, this is too long for her. But when the auntie comes, she changes her stance.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
So I just love how they have brought all these concerns and all these features of the culture and the community.
And for our dozen listeners, check out Hassan Minhaj's Homecoming King to find out more context about
Log kya kahenge.
and what that means.
Yeah. In the following what Miss Marvel did with their subtitles, we'll just leave it at that.
Sure. Looking forward to next week. I'm excited to see the Department of Damage Control is going to bring her in.
Yes, I'm excited to see that too, particularly after you pointed out that the Department of Damage Control dude has also questioned Spider-Man.
Right.
I like that other actor who's
Our second favorite prison warden
our second favorite prison warden.
from Orange is the New Black.
Yeah. Whatever her name was, I forget.
So we'll see what happens next week. We're really excited. We'll be back in maybe a day or two with a breakdown of Kenobi Part 4. And then we'll definitely be back next week to talk more Miss Marvel.
I'm super excited. I hope that people stay tuned. And again, give us feedback for how this is going and what we can add or what we can take away.
Yeah. Tell us what you think. We'll be posting the episode on all the podcast places, probably eventually on YouTube. Check us out there. I'll make some Reddit posts. We also have a Discord you can find in our Twitter bio. Come hang out with us. Love to hear your thoughts. Tell us what you think. Twitter handle is at Omar's Rickshaw.
Yes, and we will see you all next week.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.